Hi guys, Frank from Tiny Plastic Spaceman here, and welcome to another unboxing video for another awesome Forge World Titan model. This one is for the Nemesis Warbringer Titan. Now this is a brand new model that's just been announced just maybe 3 weeks ago at the time I'm recording this, and is just released to the public 2 days ago from the time I'm recording this. Now I've just finished up the Warlord model, and so you can check out the video link for that somewhere. Now there is a full unboxing, wash, build, and paint series done for that, which is the same thing I'm going to do for this model. So this video in this series is the first video that you can check out, and it will have the unboxing of pretty much everything. Now, just like the Warlord, there's one giant red Forge World box, and there's a second giant Forge World red box, and then there's a bunch of these cool white Forge World weapon boxes, basically is what these are. This one is the Gatling laser for the Battle Titan, and this one is the Volcano Cannon. Now for the Nemesis Warbringer, or Warbringer Nemesis I should say, this is the Quake cannon, because there's different types of Quake cannons. So anyway, this is the Quake cannon. It comes in its own separate box because presumably from the way the model's been designed and built, there's probably going to be different main weapons. So you'll be able to, looks like, have different main guns on your Warbringer Nemesis, which might turn into a Warbringer or something, I don't know, a different name. Anyway, so we're going to unbox all of these in this video. The next video will be just a brief bit about washing the model, because there's whole video on the Warlord and it was a bit long and a bit boring. So going to be a brief bit on that, and then we'll just dive right into the building and hopefully get that done pretty quick and see how it goes together. So without further ado, sorry this intro is taking so long, let's get right into unboxing this brand new beast. Alright, so here is box number one. Now this, if you're not familiar with the size of these boxes, just so you have an idea, it's the same footprint as, say, the Kill Team or Rogue Trader, Blackstone Fortress, etc., Speed Freaks, all the big box games that Games Workshop do, but the depth is much deeper. So it's at least twice as deep as, say, a Horus Heresy, you know, the Betrayal at Calth, or Prospero boxes. So it's at least twice the size of that. But these boxes are great. You know, if you're in the habit of collecting gigantic resin models from Forge World, these boxes are actually really good, because you can store kit boxes inside of these. So your normal, say, like a Land Raider or a Wave Serpent box will fit here, and then another one will fit next to it, and then you can still put stuff on top of it. Or, like me, if you're collecting a bunch of sprues for an army, my Renegade Heretic Militia sprues, which are just a mix of Deathcore and Mechanicus and Genestealer Cult sprues, those all just kind of like lay here and just occupy all of this. So these are actually really good for organizing your collection. So if you happen to have, you know, a bunch of these, it's kind of cool to show it on your shelf, your shelfie, for your stuff at home. Now, so opening it up, now this is the first time I'm looking through everything, and like I said at the time of recording, the whole model's only been out for a couple of days, so pretty brand new to looking at all over. I did show this in the intro. It's the only thing I've taken out of the box, so it's quite a cool thing, but basically I haven't looked through this at all. So the first thing we're going to look at is the instructions. The next thing is this. Actually, we'll just look at this really quick right now. This is the guide to assembling resin models, which is always really handy. Tells you what tools you need, the preparation and dealing with things like shims and warped parts. I've also done my own guide to building resin model kits. You can check that out in the link just up here. It's actually pretty handy, and of course it's quite a long video, so it's a little bit more in depth than this, and it goes into a lot more detail on all the various tools and things like that. So with that in mind, keep that handy. If this is your first resin kit from Forge World, I would think that maybe it isn't, but you never know. So we're going to look at this real quick. So a very cool line drawing. Of course, this model was designed in CAD, computer-aided drafting. So I've read that it's actually pretty good to put together and quite quick, even though there's a load of parts that you can imagine. So everything is numbered, and this is kind of an exploded view. If you've built static model kits or RC cars or stuff like that, you may be familiar with this sort of thing. So there we go. So first thing we're going to be doing is building the legs. So up to that point, and there's a nice tip here. It tells you, of course, it's a highly posable kit, so they're just telling you to keep in mind that you need to, plan ahead a bit. Use some blue tack or poster tack type stuff. You can bend the toes very easily. Bent toe assembly. So it's number 57 is the bent toe. That's pretty cool. So rather than it being just flat, so you can build it as if it's walking forward. That's pretty cool. Leg couplings. So far everything is going together very much like the Warlord. You have the ring that goes around the hip coupling pieces, and that's where all the pistons go. So you have all these pistons go there, and you cut them to the correct length that you need. Hip cables, conduits, all stuff that you want to make sure you don't lose. The armor plates, I think they do say, well, yeah, they're obviously going to be built separately. There's the torso, the big reactor vents, and the lower, no, it's the upper deck, where you're going to have guys standing on top there to do all the aiming and stuff like that of the big gun. So it looks all pretty much like I would have anticipated after building the Warlord. I've never built one of the Reavers so far. That is going to be next after this, hopefully. One of the older style Reavers that's built by hand, basically. So you have different heads. Of course, there's going to be different head options. Neck joint. So it looks like, yeah, I did read that the designer of the model actually put in these holes there that are specifically for magnets, basically. So you can swap the heads out if you want. So I think that's the head that's available right now. There's going to be optional different heads. And there we go. That's the building instruction. So it's fairly straightforward. Start with the legs, from the bottom up to until you have the legs with the hips, and then you build the torso. I mean, it makes it sound way simpler than it actually is. But that gun there, the volcano cannon, that's actually going to be one of the guns that's going on this particular model. So let's dive in and see what we've got here. So we've got a big armor plate. This looks like the right side armor plate, and the detail is really good. The cracked eagle. Very little mold slippage there. Just need a file or a sanding stick to take that down. It's a phone notification. So this is the other side. Now, if this were mine, I would be very tempted to shave all that off, because I don't play loyalists. Got to remember to take that down. And oh, handily, they're even labeled L, and I'm presuming there's going to be an R on that side. That's pretty good. It's very handy. So these are going in the to wash pile. which I'll be doing next. This is this is where the void shields go. Look familiar? So it looks like it's pretty good. There's like these big nubs. It looks those might be, yeah, that's where things get glued to. So it's locator nubs basically. That's pretty good, like a slot A, tab A sort of thing. That's what I'm going to assume. So here's these are the reactor vents. Now on the Warlord, these are located much lower on the body. Of course, on the Warlord, they come out right at the very back at the top, and these are basically at the waist, just above the waist. So it looks really good. I'm going to guess that they use a lot of pressure casting to get rid of air bubbles. Of course, that doesn't stop mold slips, so I think that's the major sort of quality thing that is affecting. You can see some mold slippage there in the shadow. That's a mold slip. Not a big deal. I mean, that is a very minor mold slip. I wouldn't say very minor, but not that bad of a mold slip. So all these fins on the looks like some sort of a radiator vent. Looks pretty good. And this looks like this must be the shoulder. There's the other side. So this is you can make these. Looks like you can make them pivot pretty easily if you really want to. I don't think I'm going to be doing that on this model. I think even if it were mine, I probably wouldn't bother having pivoting weapons. Alright, so now we've got some really big pieces underneath the big bubble wrap. So that looks like, is that the gun emplacement, I think. And that's, it's not too bad. Could take that down with a file. Take a couple of minutes or a few minutes per side. Not too bad. I'm seeing no bubbles. The only, I suppose you might want to call them quality issues, might be the mold slips, which to me aren't really that bad. There's the first bubble that we've seen. But pressure casting usually takes care of a lot of that stuff. Just makes the bubbles really, really small to the point where you can't even see them. So it's pretty good. So now, like I said in the intro, we're not going to do. I'll show a bit of the washing. Here's the hip, but it's a really boring set of stuff to do. So looks like lenses underneath. That's weird. Like crotch lenses. And this is obviously the hip joint, so there's going to be armor plates that go on the front there, and on the back. I'm guessing that's the front and the back, or maybe I've got it backwards. But there's hoses that come off here and here, looks like, and then you can see the I forget what. It's just the flashing in between these handles that are meant for, like, I suppose that's where the banners would go, the battle standards. Oh yeah, it's all looking good so far. Here we go. So this must be the back end. So somewhere here, I'm not sure which way is the right side up, but that looks like the back entrance. I think that's going to be the right side up. That's the main crew entrance. Just like on the Warlord, there's the back, like basically a platform, and there's a door right at the back. Okay. And we got a very large piece here with a big shim to take out there. That's not too bad, actually. So this is the gun crew platform. Look how big and flat and straight that is. Now see, I'm not going to worry about that because that's going to be covered up by armor or whatever. But basically, very, very dark silver, and then just dry brush some brass on top of that, and maybe a lighter color of brass, or and then a medium silver in the middle bits to show that it's been heavily traveled by foot. So that's that. So I'm just going to put these back in this box and bring out the other one. Alright, so here's the second big red box. Now this will have all of the fiddly tiny bits in it. And I imagine the gun crew and stuff like that. So we've got a bunch of your usual Forge World bags. Note the official Forge World bags there. So lots of cables in that one. And there's your air defense guns. So yeah, oh, there's the connection for the head, so you can change the head around if you wanted. Looks like hip pieces, very, very large, solid chunks of hip pieces, and that's where the, I believe that's going to be where the cables go, or the pistons, I should say. These might be the arm, yeah, these are the upper arms, so they'll sit like that. The body will be there, I think. I may have that backwards. That's just this is all just guessing so far. There's board shields. I just painted some of those. Look familiar. Pistons. Lots of pistons. Some armor plating. Okay. And let's see what's in here. Looks like some cables. We have dudes. Here's our first crewman. A better view there. He looks very serious, as you would expect. Here's another one. He's got a big backpack. And he's got some sort of scroll orders, I suppose. So there's two crewmen. You have various arms in there. What else? These look like the pintles or mounts for the guns, or the defensive guns. Yeah. So that's interesting. Oh, he's got a cane, one of the guys. I'm gonna guess that's the older one with the scrolls. Okay, so thick layer bubble wrap. Dude, this is very sturdy bubble wrap, by the way. Right. Okay, so here's the hip. I think that's the top of the hip there. You see all the compensator pistons. There's the hip joints. Very wide hip joints. And then there's that ring that you must not forget to glue on when you're assembling the hips. Look like knees. Upper thighs, lower thighs, or something, can't really tell. We'll know when we get to it. Armor plates. Gonna have a big discussion about what to do with the armor plates. Well, maybe not big discussion, but there is a discussion about what we're going to be doing with the armor plates. More armor plates. These look like the lower legs. Yeah, you can see that shape there is quite characteristic of the lower leg. Here's the lower leg supports. There's probably going to be 4 in each leg, I'm guessing. Looks like it. And these are all identical. But then they do have to be painted. Or no, they're not identical. They looks like they do lean up a bit. So there's 54, 52, 50. No, they're numbered 1 through 49 through 57. Looks like 56. Anyway, yeah. So those are the lower leg pieces, just like on the Warlord. And the toes. So there's going to be, it looks like there's going to be one that's bent. Where's that one? Gotta look for find the bent one. I thought there'd be a bent one. Maybe there isn't. Oh yeah, there it is. So it's a bit like the Leviathan dreadnoughts, the resin dreadnoughts basically. So it's a slightly bent up toe, so you can model him striding forward just a bit. But considering it's got a giant cannon on its back, I'm not sure about that. So I'm gonna probably have it a bit more stable than that. So I'm gonna put these back in this box and get to the weapons real quick. Okay, so here are the weapons that we've got. We've got the Titan Melta-Cannon, which is going to be one of my choices for my own Chaos Reaver. We've got the Gatling Blaster, which is another possibly one of my choices, just because it's a Gatling thing. And we've got the Volcano Cannon, which is probably going to be the other one that I get, other than the Melta and the Claw for my own Titan. But anyway, we're talking about this Titan, which is the Warbringer Nemesis, which comes with the Warbringer Titan Quake Cannon. So that will be the last thing that we unbox for this video. So, this one is sealed. So, while I unseal these, the weapons seem to have been redone for the for this release. So, or at least repackaged. So I'm not really sure exactly how they came previously, but probably just like that. And there's our guide to building kits. Full color instructions. So pretty easy. I do think I prefer it without the shroud, but then it kind of, I don't know, it just looks cooler without the shroud, I think. But anyway, we'll get to that. Okay. Right, so we'll put that back in that box and just have a very quick look. Wow. So the resin is very dark compared to the body of the Titan that we just saw, isn't it? So I think these were built by hand way back in the day. They may have been redone in 3D, so that would be interesting. So there's half of the, you can see all the flashing you need to cut and get rid of. Not too big deal, just use a good scalpel blade. It looks like it goes on the back somewhere, or no, underneath. And the barrels of the actual Melta cannons. Oh, look at the size of those. Those are awesome. That's why these are the biggest Melta guns you can get in the game. That's why I want to get this particular gun. Very, very cool. A little mold slippage there, not a big deal. Just a sanding stick and some flash removing tool is your friend. So, looks pretty good. And let's get to the Gatling laser. Gatling blaster, sorry. Okay. Again, full color instructions. Probably, again, redone for this thing. Every resin kit comes with the instructions. Pretty good. And there is info in the other one as well for fitting it to the Mars Pattern Reaver or the Chaos Reaver. And then you just basically just turn these pipe fittings however you need for whatever side that you're attaching it to. Ooh. Of course, on this I would have to fill that in, wouldn't I? As a trader player. So there's the top of the body, the weapon body, and then 6 massive, well, 5-inch blasts. So yeah, pretty cool. Oops. I'll get that in a bit, don't worry about that. Okay. So we'll put that back in there. And then we'll open this one. This is the volcano cannon, which is the sort of the, I call it the mini Unfriender. So that's what it looks like. This is basically a smaller version. This is the, what is it? The single barrel of the, a single version of the top carapace gun on the Warlord, I think. I may have that completely wrong. I probably do. I'm not good with rules. I'm just kind of okay with models. So, but there you go. That's Big Mama Jama. Big sucker. Pretty cool. And yeah, there's a smaller version of the. So this is the big one on the Warlord is called the Bellicosa volcano cannon, I think. If I remember that right. Yeah, so this is basically just a smaller version of that. So we did look at this, didn't we? Yeah. So it's got the same couplings and the same info there for fitting it to the standard Reaver. Okay, so let's open up the Quake cannon. Right, so looks like we've got a couple pieces in bubble wrap, which means they're very, very big. So this is the pivot, and that's where the crew stands. Interesting. Got some couple of crew access hatches there, so I can disappear like a stage magician. And this is probably the gun itself. Oh, no. It's the base of the gun. Looks like it has very similar design there for the armor. So somewhere there's going to be a pivot and then the actual barrel of the gun. So lots of gubbins that fit around, and oh, that's cool. Like the, I don't know what that is, but some sort of like railing or something like that. It's got the Titanicus T on it. That's cool. So lots of gubbins here. You can see why this is a 110-pound kit. It's noted it's left and right. So that is the pivot that goes on the sides of the gun there. So you can, if you do it right, you can make it pivot and stay in place. But remember, it's not an action figure, folks. Oh, gotta take this out. Oh man. Okay, so that is, I think that's a ammo cell. I'm not really sure. We'll see on the instructions. And that's the outside of those pivot pieces that say left and right. There's the first, no, that's the end of the barrel. I can just about fit my index finger into it. That is massive. Oh my gosh. But look at all these. You can see how it's got all these compensator things, these shock absorber pieces built into it. So I think that's how they sort of get around it being a walking artillery piece, basically. Now that is very interesting. That is crazy cool. I mean, that's just, it's a revolver, isn't it? It's crazy. Alright, so this will be interesting to build. Very interesting to build. I do wonder what this thing is for. I suppose it's like a laser designator or something like that. Yeah, it's got like a lens at the very, very end of it. But it looks, I don't know, it's a little strange looking, I suppose. It kind of, if you've seen pictures of it, it just like sits something like that. And yeah, I don't know. It's different, certainly. I wouldn't say it's a love it or hate it thing. I'm kind of ambivalent about it. I'm not too worried about it, but it's interesting. So we haven't even got to the instructions on this yet, which are underneath all this stuff. And there we go. There's the gun itself. So you can see where that thing sticks out underneath. It's interesting. And then there's like, there are shells that fit in there. So where are those shells? Oh, here they are. There's the tips of the shells are there. to you can fit in as many as you like to make it look like it's been fired or whatever. Pretty cool. That is insane. Right, so there's all the parts, and like I said, you can fit in as many of these as you want. Right, shell fins and shell tips, and then there's the main pieces of the gun all put together there. And then it all sits on this big base like that, and then that just fits in the top, so you can move that left and right as you want. Importantly, if you really want to, you can put magnets around the end of it, or just be careful about how you do it. Move it around on the table, but you can place it there and remove it, and like I said, presumably there's going to be a different gun that can fit in there, just like the picture shows. So a couple more pieces that kind of slipped through the cracks were the Titan head, which is the Mars Alpha pattern style head, and the Battle Titan laser blaster. So real quick, I'm going to just cut the seal on these, and so we can just dive in and have a look. So again, we've got full color instructions. Now these are the carapace weapons on the Warlord, I believe. Much simpler though to put together, from what I recall. So anyway, and again, it comes with the coupling, so you can, I suppose, you can magnetize those if you want to have them swap left or right. But you just glue them in place however you need. And here we are. So, so these two barrels are basically molded together. And then you got a third, and then there's a standoff that goes in between, and a couple of cables, armor plate, and then this is the piece that the gun's attached to, and then these hoses and couplings are pretty much, look like they're pretty much universal. So it's quite similar to the, seems like it's quite similar to the dreadnoughts, where if you end up building loads of the guns and weapons, you end up having lots of repeat pieces, like those elbow pieces and the cables and things like that. So here's the head. This is going to be the final piece of our unboxing. So you got the hints and tips again, and you get a big instruction manual, or a couple of sheets anyway. You also get the type of shield. So yeah, there you go. And this is a little bit smaller than the I can't remember what it is. It's not the Alpha pattern. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, for the Warlord is what I'm talking about. You got a Princeps throne. You got a couple of crew members. That's pretty cool. I like rather than just having them holding a couple of joysticks like on the Warlord. That's cool. And then so you can place them, and they're posed, so you can put them however you want. Of course, you don't have to assemble the crew and the Princeps, but on the Warlord I did a magnetized head, so you can take the head off and remove the top, like here. So you can basically just put a few magnets around the rim, and they even say not to glue it, so you can look inside if you really want. And then it just pops into place. So, and it even tells you can magnetize it quite easily. 4x2 millimeter magnets. Right, so let's have a look at these. We didn't take anything else out of the box, so let's have a look at these. There's the top of the head. So it's I can just tell. I mean, I handled the Warlord today, so it's quite a bit smaller, noticeably smaller. And of course, there's going to be different head types that you can get, so might need some dip that in hot water a bit and just get that fitted in there properly. There's the Moderati. See if we can find the Princeps. He will be in here somewhere. There he is. This is the guy who's connected to the war engine itself. And there's the interior. Ah, here we are. This is cool. So we got sensors. These are basically go in the eyes. And it's identical left to right. So apart from that top lens piece. So, yeah, it's alright. But there you go. There's the detail inside. If you want to paint that, you don't have to, but it does look a little cooler. I'm not sure where that goes. It's probably goes something like that. I don't know. And then that's where the Moderati sits. And here's the shields. Pretty big shields. Of course, not as big as on the Warlord, but you know, it's a smaller thing. And some big bunches of cables. So overall, yeah, pretty cool. Right, so, and that basically brings us to the end of the unboxing. So there we are, that's the Warbringer Nemesis Battle Titan, all unboxed and ready to get going. So the very next video that you're going to see in this series is going to be the washing, the clipping, just like very quick bits of that. And then straight into the build and just be talking through every step of the build. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram, which is TPS Painting Studio, on Facebook, which is just search for Tiny Plastic Spaceman, and on the web, tinyplasticspaceman.com. Okay, so we'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching.